The voicemail hit my phone at 8:02 a.m. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't a warning. It was a digital firing. My father's voice, cold and quick, saying, "You're out of the family business, Alex, effective immediately. Your sister Chloe is taking your position." I listened to it twice, then a third time. I deleted it. I didn't scream. I didn't call back. I didn't even cry. I simply said, "Understood." You see me now, 37, standing outside the Manhattan office tower that holds the company my grandfather founded, the company I was born to run, the company that, as of this morning, believed I was broke, jobless, and completely destroyed. But the truth is, while they were drafting my severance package, I was finalizing a leveraged buyout. They had fired the chief operating officer, but they had just made an enemy of the woman who secretly owned 70% of their debt. They wanted to replace me with my sister? Fine. Let them prepare for the board meeting this afternoon, because I was about to walk into that room, not to beg for my job back, but to take everything, and I mean everything, they held dear. The question isn't how I did it. The question is, why did my own mother hide the truth of our inheritance for 20 years? And what shocking secret did I uncover on the path to revenge? Stick with me, because this story isn't about business. It's about the price of betrayal. Our company, Sterling Textiles, wasn't just a business, it was a dynasty. Started by my grandfather, built on integrity. My mother, Sarah, was the silent genius behind the supply chain, and my father, Richard, was the face. They had 2 daughters, me, Alex, the older one, driven, a Wharton graduate, completely obsessed with the business, and Chloe, the younger one, artistic, flighty, but always Dad's favorite. From the age of 21, I lived and breathed Sterling. I restructured our warehousing, I modernized our factories. I was the one pulling all-nighters, securing those massive overseas deals. I was the heir apparent. Everyone knew it. But for all my success, there was always a shadow. My father never trusted my judgment. He constantly called me too aggressive, too cold, and worst of all, too much like your mother. My mother. She passed away 7 years ago. Cancer took her quickly. She was the only person who truly understood my commitment. Before she died, she pulled me aside and said something strange. "Alex, your father will test you. He will try to break you, but remember this. What's yours will always find its way home." I thought it was just motherly comfort. I was wrong. After she died, the dynamic shattered. My father retired into his chairman role, and my sister, Chloe, who had bounced between 3 different art schools, suddenly decided she was interested in the family business. She'd show up at the office twice a week, offer up some half-baked marketing idea, and Dad would beam. My suggestions, based on 10 years of data, were always too emotional. The real conflict started 6 months ago. We needed a new COO. I had already been doing the job for 2 years without the title. It was mine. But my father and Chloe had a little talk. My father called me into his office, not the boardroom. He sat behind the huge walnut desk and didn't offer me a seat. "Alex," he said, tapping a pen, "we've decided to promote Chloe to COO. It will be good for her. She needs the structure." I just stared at him. "Dad, she doesn't know the difference between a P&L statement and a purchase order. I've been doing this for 2 years. This is my life." He leaned back, completely unbothered. "That's the problem, honey. It is your life. You need balance. Chloe brings a softer touch. We're giving you a generous consulting contract. Take a break." I understood the message immediately. He was sidelining me. Not because of competence, but because he didn't want me in power. That night, I started to plan. I started to gather my resources. I didn't know then that my resources were about to expand far beyond my wildest dreams. I knew I couldn't fight them conventionally. They had the board, they had the company attorneys, and they had the name. I needed leverage. Absolute, crippling leverage. I went to my mother's estate lawyer, a quiet woman named Mrs. Peterson, who had been Mom's friend since college. I hadn't seen her since the funeral. I asked her about the will, about the shares. I knew Mom had left me 10%, the same as Chloe, and Dad held 50%. But Mrs. Peterson looked deeply uncomfortable. "Alex," she said, closing her office door, "your mother was a very careful woman. The public will was one thing. The private trust is another. She instructed me not to discuss this until the day you were permanently removed from the company structure. She knew this day would come." I couldn't breathe for a second. A secret trust? Mrs. Peterson handed me a small, heavy box. Inside was a key and a bank statement. The statement showed a massive private trust account, untouchable by my father, set up in my name 10 years ago. It held $10 million plus interest. And beneath the numbers was a handwritten note from my mother. "Alex, this is your security. Use it to buy your freedom or to buy them out. Whatever you choose, be decisive. Your love for the company should never be confused with their love for you." Tears were streaming down my face. $10 million. My mother, the too emotional woman, had been planning for my professional protection for a decade. She'd given me the war chest. Suddenly, the game changed from how do I survive to how do I win? I went to an old contact, a shark of a banker named Mr. Vance. I showed him the trust and my extensive knowledge of Sterling's vulnerabilities. The company had taken on significant debt over the last few years for a failed expansion into Asia, a mistake my father had pushed through despite my warnings. My plan was simple. Use the $10 million as collateral to purchase the majority of Sterling's own outstanding short-term corporate debt from the various hedge funds. For 2 months, I worked in complete silence, operating out of a tiny rented office under a different name. I skipped meals, slept 3 hours a night. I bought up the notes. I aggregated the debt. The hedge funds, eager to liquidate, practically threw the papers at me. They didn't care who bought it, just that the risk was off their books. They had no idea they were selling to the former COO. I called Mr. Vance 3 days ago. "It's done," I told him. "I hold 70% of Sterling Textiles' corporate debt." "You're not just a creditor, Alex," he said, his voice impressed. "You're the ultimate creditor. You are the only one who can call the debt due. You control the company's financial future." I had the ultimate leverage. I could bankrupt my father and sister on a whim. The only thing missing was the timing. And then the voicemail came. Yesterday morning, my father finally made his move. He didn't want me as a consultant. He wanted me gone. He recorded that cold, quick voicemail telling me I was out and that Chloe was in. He made his announcement to the board at 9 a.m. He thought he was done with me. At 9:05 a.m., 5 minutes after they had finished celebrating my sister's promotion, I emailed the entire board of directors, my father, and my sister. The subject line was simply, "Board meeting, 3 p.m., mandatory." My father called me immediately. He was enraged. "Who the hell do you think you are? You're not an officer anymore. You have no authority. Delete that email immediately." I listened, quietly. "I'll be there at 3 p.m., Dad. You should ensure the room is ready. It's going to be a long afternoon." I hung up. I spent the next few hours with Mrs. Peterson. She gave me the rest of the documentation, the specific legal instruments needed to execute the debt-to-equity conversion. She also gave me one more thing, a small velvet box. "Your mother wanted you to wear this when you finally won," she said. It was Mom's simple silver locket, engraved with our initials. I pinned it to the inside of my blazer. At 2:45 p.m., I walked into the Sterling building. No one stopped me. The guards still knew my face. I rode the elevator to the 30th floor. I was no longer the daughter or the COO. I was the silent, massive debt holder, and I was about to walk into the boardroom to collect. The boardroom was tense. My father sat at the head of the table, his face thunderous. Chloe sat smugly beside him, a freshly printed Chief Operating Officer nameplate shining on the polished wood. The 6 board members, all men who had watched me grow up, looked nervously between us. My father spoke first, his voice shaking with false authority. "Alex, you have no right to be here. This is an official company meeting. You were terminated this morning. I suggest you leave before I call security." I didn't raise my voice. I simply placed my new briefcase, a heavy, black leather one, on the table and opened it. "Dad, I have every right to be here. In fact, you're the one who needs my permission to sit at this table." Chloe laughed, a sharp, nervous sound. "Oh, Alex, stop the drama. You are always so theatrical." I looked Chloe directly in the eye. "Chloe, please feel free to take the consulting contract I'll be offering you shortly, but for now, you should remove the COO nameplate. It's distracting." My father stood up, slamming his hands on the table. "That's enough! Security!" I held up a hand. "Before you do that, gentlemen of the board, I want to introduce myself. My name is Alex Thorne, and I represent the majority interest of Sterling Textiles corporate debt. As of 2 hours ago, I own 70% of what this company owes." A collective gasp went around the table. The board members' eyes went wide with shock. My father literally staggered, grasping the chair back for support. You bought the debt?" my father stammered. "How? You don't have that kind of capital." I smiled, a cold, professional smile that held no warmth. "I had to use the security my mother gave me, Dad. You'd be surprised what $10 million can leverage when used correctly." I leaned forward and spoke with the chilling clarity of a seasoned executive. "Gentlemen, the terms of the outstanding debt are clear. Because the company failed to meet the targets for the last 3 quarters, as of this moment, I am invoking the covenant and demanding the immediate payment of the entire principal plus interest due in 24 hours. Panic broke out. The board members were shouting, realizing the immediate, devastating implication: bankruptcy. "You can't do that," my father yelled, his face purple. "You'll destroy the company, our family legacy." "No, Dad," I corrected him. "You destroyed the company when you bet our future on a failed expansion and then filled key roles based on favoritism, not competence. I'm simply managing the fallout." I looked down at the documents. "However," I continued, "I am offering an alternative, a restructuring. Under the terms of the debt covenants, as the principal creditor, I have the right to demand a debt-to-equity swap." I slid the documents across the table. "Here is the proposal. My debt will be converted into equity, giving me an immediate 75% controlling stake in Sterling Textiles. Your remaining equity will be converted into non-voting shares, and a new management team will be installed immediately." I turned to my father. "You are relieved of your duties as chairman, effective immediately. And Chloe," I finally looked at my sister, whose smugness had evaporated into horror, "your chief operating officer position is also terminated." My father collapsed back into his chair. "You wouldn't dare. You're my daughter." I stood up, adjusting the locket beneath my blazer. "No, Dad. You fired your daughter this morning. Now you're looking at your new CEO. But the will, my father suddenly shouted, desperate. Your mother left everything to me. You only got 10%. This is illegal. I paused. The air was dead silent. I had won the company, but his comment about the will brought back that strange memory of my mother's words. What's yours will always find its way home. I hadn't looked at the official will since the funeral. Mrs. Peterson, I turned to the lawyer who had been watching the entire spectacle, I think it's time we read my mother's official last testament. Mrs. Peterson produced a sealed, yellowed envelope. My father tried to snatch it, but she held it firm. She broke the seal, and the room was silent enough to hear the pages rustle. She didn't read the whole thing, just the final, crucial codicil. Mrs. Peterson read, "In the event that Alex is ever removed from her position as Chief Operating Officer of Sterling Textiles by Richard Thorne, I hereby transfer my 50% ownership of Sterling Textiles to a voting charitable foundation administered solely by Alex Thorne, with the provision that Alex must be named chairman and CEO of the company for 1 year." My father was speechless. The board members looked stunned. My mother hadn't just given me $10 million, she had given me the entire company in a trust that activated upon my betrayal. She had planned the ultimate failsafe. The company, I explained, my voice finally softening slightly, was always meant to be controlled by the one who loved it enough to fight for it. My mother knew that was me. I turned to Chloe. She was crying now. "Alex, please, I didn't know he was going to fire you. I just wanted to feel important." I looked at my sister, the girl who had been my shadow. "You want to feel important, Chloe? Then earn it. I'm offering you the consulting contract Dad refused to give me. 1 year, you'll run the new non-textile division, and you'll report only to the new head of HR. Your father has no authority over you here anymore." She nodded, wiping her eyes. She was finally free from Dad's favoritism and forced to prove herself. I turned to my father. He looked broken. "Dad, you have a generous retirement package already set up. You can't enter this building without an appointment. Your actions have consequences. This isn't revenge. This is business. And the business needed a leader, not a sentimental figurehead." I walked over to the chairman's seat, my mother's seat really, and sat down. The new CEO. I was home. It took 6 months to fully restructure the company. I brought in a brilliant new COO, promoted 3 of the most loyal managers, and yes, I put the family first. The family of employees who had been betrayed by my father's reckless decisions. Chloe is doing well in her new division. She finally learned the value of a hard day's work, and that real importance comes from competence, not titles. I still haven't had a proper conversation with my father. Maybe one day, maybe not. My mother's words ring true every day. What's yours will always find its way home. Sometimes the greatest lesson you can teach your family is that true loyalty is earned with trust, not dictated by blood. They thought I was too emotional to lead, but it was my love for the legacy that forced me to be ruthless. Now, I look at my little locket every morning. It reminds me of the hidden strength women keep and the sacrifices they make to protect their children's future. But my victory was short-lived. A month after I took over, an SEC investigation was opened into Sterling Textiles. An investigation initiated by an anonymous tip, a tip that could have only come from inside the family.